Can you tell me some places that you find very beautiful in Norwich?
Yeah, it's a very old city. They call it the Fine City of Norwich, particularly around Tombland, which is away to our east over there. It's around the cathedral, the Norman Cathedral, and along the riverside there, but basically between the Norwich city centre here and over to the east, the river, the Tombland, Norwich Cathedral, Elm Hill, which is a very famous film location. The most recent film shot there, I think, would be the Jingle Jangle, which has now gone on Netflix, I believe. And beyond that, Norfolk is known for being very, very flat, as Noel Coward once said, very flat Norfolk. But we actually have a hill called Mousehold Hill or Mousehold Heath, another beautiful, and that gets you a lovely look down into the city, where the Ketch Rebellion, another battle which took place in Norwich, the Ketch Rebellion, where the armies amassed on the top of Mousehold Heath, marched down the heath and had a battle around by Cowan Tower.
Thank you.
How's that?
Good.
Got it.
Believe it or not, Britain was invaded several times and taken over. Yeah. So it's not just Britain doing it to other countries. It happened to us as well, but it's a long time ago. So over the years we had Vikings, Romans, and the French was the last. Yeah. And the French had the biggest influence. And certainly the cathedral, the big one, it was built by the French. By the Normans. They came and even the stone that it's made of, that yellow type stone, that comes from France.
This is Norwich Cathedral. It's been here nearly 1,000 years, being built just after the Norman conquest. Stone was brought along the river at the back of the cathedral and brought up to build it, and that's why it's in this location very close to the river. This is the Maid's Head Hotel. It claims to be the oldest hotel in the country. Tombland has nothing whatsoever to do with tombs. What it means, actually, the word tomb in this context is an open space, a big open space that was actually Norwich's first market, dating from before William the Conqueror in 1066. We've come just off Tombland now into a small lane called Tombland Alley, and what we have here are two high-level walls either side, and behind these walls are bodies that date from the Black Death. And behind me is a house that was involved in the Black Death. There was a family in that house. They all had the plague, but one of them survived. And it was the daughter who survived, and she survived by eating her parents. Government in the city took place in this building called the Guildhall from the 1400s when this was built, and as the city took on more and more responsibilities, it needed more and more buildings to do it. And so over there was basically just some houses, big houses, that we used to cover that purpose until the City Hall here was built in 1938. When we were in Tombland earlier, I said that was the first and original market in Norwich. When the Norman conquest took place in 1066, the market was moved up to this area, which was like a French expansion of the city. So this market has been here for nearly 1,000 years. Norwich had a library on this site, which sadly was destroyed by fire in 1994 and was replaced with this building called the Forum. It contains the new library, it contains restaurants, and the BBC are in there as well. Architecturally, it sits very close to this church, St Peter Mancroft Church, which is a significant contrast. This is the Royal Arcade, which was like Norwich's first ever shopping mall. It gets its name from the building that was on here before that, which was called the Royal Hotel. And this archway behind me, in fact, led to the stables of the Royal Hotel. So we're now at the other end of the Royal Arcade, and right at the top of the building there is an angel. And that relates to the building that was there before the Royal Hotel, which was the Angel Hotel. We're now standing in front of Norwich Castle. This is another building that followed the Norman conquest of 1066. They had to clear a number of houses from this location, build a mound to put it on. It was intended as a royal palace, but it was never used for that purpose. Its uses have been things like a prison, and currently it's used as a museum. When we were at the Royal Arcade, I mentioned that that had previously been a hotel. When the Royal Arcade was built, the Royal Hotel relocated to this position here. Unfortunately, it hasn't been a hotel for many years, but it might become one again fairly soon. This is Cow Tower. It was built in 1398. It's set in a junction of the river which goes in that direction, and is an additional defence to the main defences around the old city of the city walls. This is part of the old city wall. This part encloses part of Norwich above the river, so Norwich over the water as it was called. Just behind me would have been a gate called Pockthorpe Gate, and that then leads down to the river, and then the river acts as the city's defences round to Cow Tower, which we've seen earlier, and beyond that the rest of the city was enclosed by a significant area of wall.
So that's a good one. Norwich, a city of strong women. Very a long history of women, so you could research all the women. People like Edith Cavell, they've all been reformers, they've all made it different. So that you could research the strong women, and you could find the statues, and you could find the stories about them, and I could show you some bits of that as well. Edith Cavell was a nurse, and she was around in the early 1900s, and she nursed here, and then the war started, the First World War, and she went to Belgium, and she treated soldiers who were injured. But her different story is she treated any soldier. So if they were German, French, English, she just treated them. Well, the Germans gradually took over the Belgium, and they let her nurse, but they said you can only nurse Germans. And she said, no, I'm not here to do that. You can't force me to do that. So she just kept doing it. So they took her prisoner. They gave her one chance, will you stop doing this now? And she said, no, my vocation. She was a strong Christian. So she did it through her Christian faith. Well, obviously anybody could do it, but she had this strong belief in helping everybody. And she didn't refuse, so they executed her. They shot her through the head.
We're now standing in Opie Street, which is named after Amelia Opie, who was a famous writer. The street has had various names over the centuries and is currently named after her.
In the Norwich district area. The reason we support the protest against the bill is because the trade union movement would be nothing without the right to protest. Trade unions.
Yeah, and then the one that we just sort of broached upon, Norwich, churches everywhere. And the story is that there was a church for every week of the year in Norwich. There's 50 odd churches.
50 churches in Norwich.
Well, there's more than that, but 50 medieval churches. But so churches like this, there was 50 something. There's a few of them lost now, so there's about 30 odd. But in history, we used to say there's a church for every week and a pub for every day, and that's true.
Well, I'm Edward Carter, the vicar here at St Peter Mancroft Church, which is where we are at the moment. And we've actually got some roof work going on, so there are some bangings and crashings going on in the background. But this is a very old building indeed. It was built in the 15th century, so between about 1430 and 1455. And in fact, Norwich is full of medieval churches. It's a city absolutely full of churches. This church in particular is probably one of the biggest in the city. It's right in the heart of the city, near the marketplace and near now the City Hall, was always near the Guildhall. Also we have the Forum, a very modern building opposite now, but it's always been right in the heart of the city. And indeed many important people in the life of the city, mayors and other significant dignitaries have come here to worship and been part of the church. But the churches across the city have of course been a really important part of the life of the city over many, many centuries indeed. And still about 8 or 9 of them are open for worship with Christian congregations that gather regularly on Sundays and other days as well. So this place, I always get filled with a sort of sense of awe really when I come in here because of its age, yes, but also all the different people, all the history that's carried by this building. And also for me as a Christian person, as a Christian minister, I'm always in awe of the prayers that have been said here and the fact that this is a spiritual place. So I think probably what I tend to do when I come in is turn and look up the length of the church and just enjoy the beauty and that sense of prayer.
Good afternoon and welcome to Norwich Cathedral, and I hope you're enjoying your visit to this place. I am the chaplain of your town. Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory.
Norwich has many, many medieval churches, and a significant number of them are no longer used for their original purpose. This one behind me is now a puppet theatre. It's quite unusual. It's got an unusual tower at the top. Most towers are square in shape. Within this part of the country there are a fair number which are circular. This one actually has 8 sides, so is octagonal.
The wedding is on Friday, so Darren's put this under curtain up and
Yeah, it'll look pretty.
Oh,
beautiful, isn't it?
yes it is, yeah.
So one day there will be bookshelves. We are one of 3 building-based puppet theatres. This building was built in Octagon. Now this whole land, we're going to develop this as an outdoor venue.
Yeah.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's a graveyard, so we do find bones from time to time. Get this doctorate scheme, and we've got all kinds of archives. So again, as you say, there's heaps of ideas. Colette Garrigan at Norwich Public Theatre, and it's Colette Garrigan at Well, do keep in contact because we can maybe invent projects and conferences and things. That's what I want to I want to get the place busy and and if you ever want to come up and do some volunteering, then come on.
There is the river. Have you ever walked all the way along the river? From the station and then walked down to the river?
Oh, yes.
And then walked all the way around?
Yes.
And there's so many points of interest there. You can make a film. And of course, film and water is a good combination. And there are stories you could tell along there. Things like the Pools Ferry. Don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
There's a building, very historical building there. It's a ferry, but it's got lots of history. And then you go, obviously, the cathedral is just to the side.
This building behind me is called Pool's Ferry, and it's named after John Poole, who was the ferryman here in the 1700s. But this route from the ferry down that way towards the cathedral is how they brought in stone from the river and along a canal here to build the cathedral in the late 1000s.